Hey everybody, welcome back to Conversations in Pop Culture. And we are back in the saddle once again for another season. And it is a shiny new week. And look at me channeling optimism today. Because I have with me Raven Gregory, who is a comic writer, has done a lot of work for Zenoscope, has his own book, Widow's Web, as well as he's doing a lot of comedy stuff now, and some other stuff is happening with you. So, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, Andrew? How you doing, man? What's up, Andrew? Good to see you again.
Yeah. I think this is the second time, if not the third time. It's been a while. Obviously, I've been reading a lot of Zenoscope, and you're known for Wonderland and a bunch of other stuff. And yeah, so you've been busy and doing a lot of stuff. And let's just catch everybody up on who you are.
Well, I am the guy on the other side of whatever screen you're looking at right now with green fucking hair, smoking something that's obviously not marijuana because that would keep us from being monetized on YouTube. So it's not marijuana. This is actually something that's legal here in Arizona. That's what this is. I'm Raven Gregory. I am the writer and creator of many of your favorite comic books. If you're actually watching this, I can't imagine why you'd be watching this unless you're just like, they're like at home just jerking off to Andrew's face. They're just like that big fan. Like Andrew has an OnlyFans page and people are just tuning in to be like, I wonder if he's going to show his nipple this time, that kind of thing. Like, so either you're aware of who I am and you follow my work and you're tuning in, or you're just jerking off to Andrew, waiting for him. Lick your lips, Andrew. Give him something to talk about. Yeah, it is. There it is.
So,
I write comic books. I'm a writer. I do comedy. Hang out with Andrew sometimes. And yeah. And I've had sex one time in 3 years. For those in the studio audience who think I'm doing nothing but fucking. Fucked one porn star in 3 fucking years. Just want to let that be clear. Throwing that one out there.
You're clearing the record. The record has been cleared. It has been expunged.
Okay.
Precisely. Exactly. But yeah, so I actually do want to talk about comedy stuff first, because you really made a very interesting transition from writing comic book stuff, doing basically, for those who don't know, Raven is pretty much responsible for Wonderland, which in a lot of ways put Zenoscope on the map. And it was a brilliant trilogy. Nihai was involved, and a bunch of other people were involved too. And then now you've taken a massive break and somewhat of an exodus, or you're starting to make an exodus to go into comedy. And so what has that been like? Because when we spoke the last time, you were doing a lot of stuff, and then I see a bunch of your stuff. And what is that like to do that? Because you're a writer, the comedy is a tricky field, and it can destroy people because it is hard as fuck.
It's been a lot of fun, man. I mean, it's another artistic form of expression. It's another craft to learn, to master. All these things. I mean, if you've lived long enough in this life, you learn very fast, especially like you've been doing this podcast for how many years now?
10, almost 11.
Okay. You ever look back at that first podcast and see what it looked like?
I was editing an interview yesterday from a year ago, and the growth is insane, where I'm like cringing at my editing. And I'm like, really good person, nice person. It wasn't bad, but it's not at the level where it is today. And it's a weird thing to look at. I can't explain it, but like the growth is night and day, which is even crazy because then you go back 5 years, you're like, oh my God, how the fuck did I do that shit? Like, I had no right to do that 5 years ago. But continue.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just another discipline, another facet of trying to figure out this crazy thing we call life, trying to find a reason to go on in this dark, crazy world where your brain is changing every week. Every week. I mean, I remember back in my 30s when you'd roll or sleep wrong in bed and you threw out your back. And all of a sudden your body was like, hey, guess what? We're doing new shit now. Now it's like the same thing with my brain. It's, everything around me just feels like, okay, I'm not good at doing this. I want to go do that. I that's what I gravitate toward. Something I'm not good at, I want to get good at. And the only way to become good at something is to suck at it. And we all suck at the beginning. We all suck. Some of us still suck now. I'm a year in, and I'm like, I hear all the comedians talk about, oh, my first year of comedy. Like Joe Rogan was on a podcast talking about 3 years into comedy. He said, I had no business headlining a show. And I'm like, it's fucking true. You put in the work, you get good, and hopefully.
So let's actually talk about that, because that's really interesting, where I didn't start feeling really good at interviewing until about year 7. And it took me 50 interviews the first round, which was about 2 years, to even start to, feel comfortable on my own show, let alone now where I'm at almost 500 interviews. I feel a hell of a lot more comfortable, and I feel like I actually have the right to ask people. And it's a weird concept where it took me 10 years, and the last 3 have been massive growth. And so what is that like? Because obviously you go to an open mic night, or you're at a comedy club, and you go up, and then now as you're getting more and more progressive at it and better, I mean, do you feel more emboldened to tell more, I guess, offensive jokes, for lack of a better word?
It's the material. The material is formulated the same way comic book stories are. You get something on your mind, something you feel the need you need to express, and then that's what comes to the surface. It's just like with particular stories that are written and are produced, they begin somewhere, but something about that story has to come out of the creative individual. So comedy is much more, with writing comics, I'd have to come up with the idea. I'd have to come up with the plot. I'd have to pitch the plot. Then after I pitch the plot, I'd have to get notes. And then after I got notes, I'd have to sit down in a room for a month to 2 months by myself writing this shit. Then I'd have to send it back. Then I get notes back. Then I polish it back. Then I'd send it back. Then I get like art. And then it's like, oh, this is fun. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Art back, dude. Or more notes, back. And you keep going back and forth. And then like 4 fucking months down the line, that book hits the stand. And I forgot I even wrote the shit. And then I'm reading it and I'm finding all the errors, or I'm saying, oh, that's good. But with comedy, you're up there and 5 minutes after you're done, you're like, oh, that worked. Oh, that didn't work. So it's much more instant gratification writing wise.
Do you also feel that it's more feedback and that it's in real time? Because that's one of the big things that
definitely
think it is a real problem, where, I was just watching a documentary, and it was a litigation, the Pepsi Jet thing on Netflix. I just came across my feed, and they were suing Pepsi, for those who don't know, and it wasn't in real time. It was like 8 years versus saying nowadays certain things happen in real time, and then you can assess properly. And so what is that like too? Because comics is a very slow process sometimes. And even look on Kickstarter. I mean, it's a nightmare on Kickstarter in a lot of ways, that production.
Well, I mean, it's exactly what you said. You get that instant fucking feedback that with writing, sometimes you don't get that feedback for years. I've gotten feedback from a couple people who have said something along the lines of Wonderland saved their life. Because for anyone out there who has read the series, there's a lot of shit about mental issues and mental health and addiction and drugs and fucking dysfunctional families and abuse and all types of real horrible shit behind what the story actually is. And like 10, 15 years later, somebody's like, it saved their life. It took 10, 15 fucking years for this person to on them. That's delayed fucking feedback like a motherfucker. But with comedy, it's like if they're laughing, if they're hitting. But I mean, that goes back something that you said earlier. It goes back to when you were talking about how there was so much growth between where you started and where you are now. A lot of this shit, whether it be comedy, whether it be a podcast, whether it be writing, there's something about mastering the art of a conversation. A lot of people are just waiting for their turn to talk, or they have bullet points in their head. They're not sitting there saying, I have not once stopped staring at your Dragon Ball Z t-shirt thinking It should have been what's his name, Bruto, Brody, bro. Who's the motherfucker with the green hair and shit? Broly, yeah. This whole fucking time, that's been in my head. And I like as soon as you're talking about getting good, I'm like, your use of conversation, the way you play off of people instead of like, having a bullet point list, a lot more natural. I wanted to let you know that because I've been watching.
It's interesting because if you go back 10 years ago, I started off very bullet pointed listed, and obviously there's nothing wrong. And I talk to people all the time and say, look, and I still write out a bunch of interviews. I didn't write this one out because I feel comfortable enough. And even at this point, I feel very comfortable in almost every interview I do that I don't need to write it down, but I write down questions. But again, I use them as a guide, not as the be all end all. But I started out.
You feel a much easier comfort with doing these now. Like before, not that it was uncomfortable, but there's a looseness that you only acquire from doing something over and over and over again.
Yeah, and even still,
can you feel that in all your podcasts now? Like it's not as heavy as it used to be.
I would say 98%. There's a 2% that scare the shit out of me, to be honest.
Who scares you? Who scared the shit out of you, Andrew? Be honest.
I mean, so I'll give an example. I got to interview the voice of Lin Minmay from Robotech. That was a very scary interview because I love Robotech. and so I was like, oh shit. And then I got the voice of Neji from Naruto. I'm a huge Naruto fan. I'm like, oh my God, I better prep up for this thing and I better be on point. And so sometimes in life, you're like, okay, this is a little bit more of a serious interview. And so now you get a little bit more nervous. But then again, I'm obviously having your friend Pat Shand on. And then Pat doesn't terrify me the same way as I'm like, oh shit, how the fuck did I get this big top celebrity on?
It's because he's so small. He's so fucking tiny. Hold on. I actually have perspective for how small Pat is. Pat's about this size. There's nothing intimidating about little Pat here. Look at Pat. And his head moves the same fucking way. That's the way Pat. I know Pat's never going to see this shit, so I can talk all the shit I fucking want. I took a picture of my green hair, and this motherfucker gave me an angry face. He didn't even talk shit. He just gave me an angry face. And his angry face, I automatically projected every fucking joke that could have been made about my hair from Pat Shand because he's in my fucking head. This is Pat Shand, bitch. Right here. You little short fucker. I'm sorry, Andrew. You brought up the demon's name.
It's all right. It's all right. We can go to a prison and we can determine which one. Anyhow.
Tom, I know. Tom, I'm going through a midlife crisis every day of the fucking week. I'm just changing this shit up like fucking, I'm sick and tired of my avatar. And I have to change the fucking Pokemon hair on this shit. That's what it is.
Well, we know you're on the 4th gym. It's all right. But no. But getting back to mastery here, in which that again, 98% of the interviews don't terrify me. I don't feel nervous about it. It's the 2% that do. It's also subject matter. So, for instance, when I have somebody on who I am not a subject matter, and so I interviewed somebody who was really big into cryptocurrency and did an NFT comic book, I was very nervous because I'm not a subject matter at the time on NFTs. So one of the things is that I tend to know a lot more about pop culture, and I don't exactly know when I interviewed this guy Nima, who did this NFT project, I wasn't as familiar with NFTs. So naturally, I'm going to be more nervous. But so beyond that,
how did that go? Like going through that, by the end of it, did you feel like you knew a little bit more? I still don't know what the fucking NFT is. It sounds like they're just selling the idea of a picture that you own. So I'm just like, hey, Andrew, take a picture of my hand. You own this picture of my hand for perpetuity.
what was cool is that, so I did some homework on it, that interview, and then what wound up happening is that obviously we spoke about the comic, and I read the comic, but then we we're
Uh-huh.
speaking about the application use, and it was fascinating, and I was asking a lot of questions, and I obviously put in about 7 to 8 hours worth of research on that interview,
Right.
which is one of the most longest interview times I had on an interview in recent years for that reason. But even still, I was nervous. But it was a very good interview, and I know a lot more out of it. And it was good because I was asking questions, and even Joe Rogan, and anybody watches Joe Rogan doesn't know everything, and when he doesn't know something, he asks a lot of questions about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And he
And I
also,
mean, just so you know, Andrew, I invested at least 8.5 minutes rolling and grinding these two blunts so that I would be properly prepared for this interview. Because you matter to me, sir. You are worth those 8.5 minutes. It was probably more like 5 every single time, good sir. Because I wanted to be ready for you. I wanted to be properly prepared to adequately.
I I invested no time in this interview.
You said 7 hours? 7 hours, dude. You were like you were going hard in the paint, getting ready for that shit. That's
No, it was
awesome.
important. I'm not going to show up to an interview unprepared. I mean, I'm being interviewed tomorrow. I'm prepared. I mean, it's about me. I'm being interviewed about financial stuff, but I'm going to be prepared. I have an actual thought process of what the guy wants, and I'm going
Yeah,
to give it. And I'm not bullet pointing it out, but I know where we need to be in that interview. I know what his audience needs because I do my homework. Whenever I go on a show or whenever I'm interviewing somebody, I look up who I'm speaking to. It's such a problem right now
right.
in our society is that nobody knows who the fuck they're talking to anymore. I've been
Hey,
on school. What?
here's an interesting question, Andrew. I mean, not saying any names. We're not picking on anybody, people. We're not making enemies. There's enough of those out there in the world today. But have you ever interviewed somebody that you just did not fucking like? Like the interview went off the rails and you were just like, dude,
Oh, no, not even that. Not
dude,
even that. No. Not that it went off the rails. I've had a guest who showed up and they were so monotone that I'm like, what the fuck? Like they showed up and they viewed it as a chore versus being here when my show is almost exclusively invitation now. And
yeah,
I'm like, what the fuck? I found it disrespectful, to be honest. I don't have a problem with an interview going a different direction. That's happened before with people. And I'm like, cool. But they were happy to be there. When somebody's not happy to be on an interview, then I have a problem because there's a million people I could hit up to interview. And you don't have to be here if you don't want to, or if you're not going to be lively. And it's a complicated question. What is the relationship between guest and host? And that's a serious, complicated question, I feel. But I don't care if an interview goes off the rail. That's not the problem.
yeah.
That's never the problem. The problem is that when somebody's like, they're so monotone and they're speaking like this the entire time and their face is like this for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
That's a problem because that's not good business. And you know who suffers because of that? Me. The guest doesn't suffer. I suffer because
Right.
it's my name on the show, not theirs. And you said something when you mortgage your house to do something, you get to call the shots. This is my money that's in this show. So I'm calling the shots. So if you're going to be monotone and I look at it, because before I say yes, I look up other interviews you've done. So there you go.
So you vet them. You vet them before you bring them on. That's fucking dope. Have you ever had a porn star on this shit yet?
Sort of.
Okay, we're gonna get you some porn stars on this shit because it needs to be addressed
I've had about maybe like 8 or 9 at this point.
on the show.
Oh yeah.
Oh fuck! Why I ain't been paying attention? The fuck is going on here? We need to do a podcast where all of those porn stars are on the screen with me right in the fucking middle with signs that say "fuck him," please. He doesn't get sex very often at all. That would be an amazing conversation in pop culture.
That would also
Right.
get me a sponsor by Healthy Male. Healthy Male, guys.
Dude, you know how hard I'm trying to get sponsored by? Because, okay, so there's this whole, this influencer bullshit. By the way, I hate taking pictures of myself, but I just can't stop it. I'm actually looking good for the first time in my life. A bitch said I was attractive. I'm 45 years old. No bitch has ever said I'm attractive. This shit feels good. But nah, I'm trying to get fucking these edibles to sponsor me because I use them to work out. And this shit's hilarious. I'm just like, I'm fucking whoring myself so much.
See, I stopped worrying about influencers. I think it's a bunch of shit. I think it's bullshit. I am never ever going to be sponsored, and I gave up. So what did I decide to do? I basically am building a whole comic book investment class, and I'm going to build a bunch of other products that actually financially liberate people. So fuck it. I'll sponsor myself, and I'll make more money doing it. And that's where I'm at. And you know what is? If they don't want to sponsor me when I return serious capital, because my last sponsor was Mixum Printing, and I returned them a lot of money on what they paid me. I gave them like a 15x rate of return, which is ludicrous. And nobody believes me. Nobody believes me because like your viewership was shit. And I'm like, but you don't understand. Printing is expensive. So it's a high ticket item. So I only need to sell 10 of them to get them X amount of money. It's not hard to sell something that's expensive because you have to sell fewer of that.
Yeah, no, dude, I've literally made a living off of that concept alone. I don't want to tell you people how Kickstarter works, but I'm extremely grateful to all the fans out there who have supported me via Kickstarter and exclusive. We're not going to talk about how much those books actually cost to print because it's very minute, motherfuckers, and people pay a lot of money for the idea of something that's rare. But hey, man, if it makes you fucking...
I mean, you know my business, right? I mean, I sell on eBay.
Yeah,
I buy and sell comics.
Yeah, same here.
I mean, I'll pull something up right here. This is a Keith Garvey Zenoscope limited to 299.
That's nice.
This is, I think,
you put her titties closer to the camera? Can you put her? It's very important that her titties be like, no, that's too far away. Let me bring those titties over here. Damn it, Andrew. Why are you trying to keep the titties from the people? He's like, no, they're going to screen capture it. Then they don't have to buy it. Fuck those motherfuckers. No, I feel...
No. But that book was like $25, right? It did not cost Zenoscope $25 to print that book. It cost. I have an idea how much it cost them to print that book.
How much you think?
All said and done, I think it's like $350 a book on $299 with the art. If you were to divide the art and the cover across 299 books, which is how you actually need to calculate it, because in order to truly calculate the value of a book and how much it costs, it's page count divided out how much those pages cost, the cover art, and then total number of books printed. There's a formula for this. You look perplexed. Did you want me to explain it to you in a different way?
No, I know the concept of the formula, but the creative in me rebels against the idea of such things. But I understand. I understand the business aspect of it.
There's two things. There's two things. There's value, and then there's actual cost of production. Those two things.
That's, like, for example, somebody pointed out to me the other day that, okay, if I am getting paid $2,000 to write a comic book, and I write that comic book in 3 days, that means that I'm capable of making $2,000 in 3 days. If I take that same comic book and it takes me a month to write that book, that means I've made $2,000 in 30 days. And if I broke that down into an hourly rate, I basically make the same money I made working at McDonald's because I work all the fucking time. Even when I'm not working, my brain is somewhere working. So you're constantly on the clock. That's what I meant about how the creative mind rebels against the sense that a book that costs 30 cents to print. By the way, kids, when I first got into the comic book game, if you printed 10,000 units, it cost 20 cents per book. Cost. So But then you have what you were saying about if you cost 10 grand to do the production of the book, you got to take that into consideration. Rent for the building where you're operating of, all those costs. Like many creative people do not have the business acumen to apply a formula to their structure of how they conduct themselves businessly because we're caught up in the passion of this shit.
There's a saying where it's my biggest pet peeve is that a lot of people hire a Kickstarter manager or a marketer for Kickstarters, but you also need to hire a business manager. Rich people, what they do, and like people in Hollywood, is that they have a business manager. The business manager is involved in them buying a house or buying multiple properties and all their business investments because that person has acumen and knowledge in different areas that helps them financially plan what they're doing. And I don't see how, if you're on Kickstarter, if you're serious and you want to run this as a business, you either need to get really good at business or you need to hire somebody or you need to find a partner who's very good at this, because that partnership is going to be worth way more in the long run if it's the right partner on the business side of things. Plus, you know what is? Do you really want to bog yourself down if you're creative with the business side? I'll use a perfect example. It's going to get you and me in trouble. The Daily Wire is an excellent example of this. Jeremy Boring and Ben Shapiro own the Daily Wire. Jeremy Boring is not an on-screen talent. He is the business side of everything. That doesn't mean that Ben, the other owner, isn't important, but Jeremy is the COO and CEO of that company. He's running the business operations. He's not running the on-screen talent side of the business. And there's a reason why, and it works as a beautiful partnership because you have one person devoted who's very good at a particular skill set that basically is a $150 million company. So, I mean, I don't know, and hopefully everybody can be an adult here and realize that we're not talking politics, but we're talking business.
Yes, kids, we're talking business. For those of you still paying attention to this story, we talk about some weird shit. We talked about pussy and porn stars. We talked about business. We talked about the acumen of learning through the process of sucking. I just would like you to know, welcome to Conversations in Pop Culture. Andrew Davis, Andrew Davis, look at him. It's fucking amazing. All of it.
No. It's a very interesting conversation and it's super interesting. But again, I have a business mindset. And this is why I haven't produced a book. Like, I have such a hard time wanting to produce a book because I have so much shit going on. Yeah. And I'm like too wrapped up and like I need a partner because I have an idea, but I've also never written a comic and I don't even know where to start. And like it sounds crazy because I read comics, I know so many people, but I'm like, where do you even fucking start? Like I'm so trapped in that position.
You know here's the utterly insane shit about this conversation. This is the fucking wildest fucking shit about this particular conversation that everybody fucking has in every question in life. They're like, I don't even know where to begin, how to start, I really want to become an artist, or I really want to become a porn star, or I really want to become an astronaut. All these things, or I really want to figure out how to fix this door that won't fucking close properly. All the answers are on the internet. All you have to do is, how do I become a comic book? There's literally, and then there's Amazon, which has books written that have all the answers. Even though the fucked up thing is, until you actually do whatever you're doing, you don't fucking learn what you need to learn until you start doing. But all the answers are like right fucking there. Somebody asked me the other day, how do I find an artist? I'm like, type in, how do I find an artist? Please close the door. I'm in a podcast. Bye. No, I'm serious. Like literally, we had no, go, please. Like it's insane that we have this amazing God-given creation that lets us watch porn whenever we want, but at no time when we're just like, you know how weird it was when it was like, okay, so how do I fix a shower head? And you Google it on YouTube and your brain instantly says, I don't want to know how to do this. I'm not doing it. Wait, how broken is it that I really have to learn how to do this? You're like, I don't want to know. I don't want the, but you're like, I wish I knew how to fix this. I wish I knew how to do comedy.
Let's even go further into this because this is so interesting. Do you think that even despite having all the answers and even how do you get good at business is also a good way to put it? So I don't seem like a complete lazy person here. But do you think that it is laziness? Do you think that people just want instant gratification? Because, I mean, I'll be very honest. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there, but it's also, do I really want to do this? Because I'll be honest, writing a comic seems really hard. Producing a comic seems really hard. It seems like you have to really want to do it, more than anything else. And my glass is full right now, to be quite honest, between running an eBay store, doing this, doing some other stuff that I'm involved in, some other businesses. Like my glass is full. And do I want to spend another 8 hours of my free time writing a book? Or do I want to enjoy my life the way it is?
Yeah, there's no free time. There's no such thing as fucking free time. Even the time we use to enjoy ourselves, it's not free. It's being spent all the same. And the idea of undergoing, it's like standing at the base of a mountain and you look up at the mountain and you're like, man, I'd really like to get to the top of the mountain and look over at everything. But in order to do that, I have to spend 2 hours walking and hurting to get to the top of the mountain for that 5 seconds of fucking, oh, I made it, feel good. And then I walk back down and have to do it all over. It's literally everything you're saying, but that applies to like everything in life. Like everything in life is this worth the little bit of time I have to be doing? If it makes you truly fucking happy, you're going to have no choice but to do it, or you're going to be miserable because you don't do it.
I mean, I'm very happy running my eBay business. I'm happy selling comic books. I love selling comic books. And that's the whole thing, is that's where I guess I'm at more than anything else, is that do I really want to do that, or do I have the desire to do it at the moment? Because right now, that's where I'm at, is I don't think the itch is there to that extent, versus because I think that's really what comics are for a lot of people, is that they're like, I need to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Watch this one, Andrew. I'm completely happy with being single. I'm okay with not getting pussy all the time. I'm spending my time wisely. No, but that's the thing, is nobody asked the question if that itch isn't like inside of you already. Like you've been infected. You want to tell a comic book. You can't help it. But still, it's that mountain. It's just that fucking mountain looking at it.
It's also trickier for me because it's also financials, where the other thing is that money right now is just not there. There's other things that money has to go to. There's other things that are going on in the next 6 weeks also that need to be addressed too. And also there's some other stuff. And so even just getting a little bit of money to start that process is also a big hurdle. And I think that's a massive thing. I mean, I put out a short today on YouTube of what you need to create, everything you need to know to create a comic book. Yeah. And it's money for art, inkers, colors, printing. And nobody ever says that's what you need to create a comic book. It was 47 seconds. And the thing's done, I think, like 600 plays between TikTok and YouTube in 10 hours. And it's probably going to do a lot more in the next week, because it's honest that you need money. And nobody thinks about this stuff when you need to create a comic book. They think about scripts. They think about other things. But
here's the only bad part about being so business minded as you obviously are. Like I say that with no tongue in cheek. The biggest hurdle that you personally will carry is being business minded. There is no fucking creative endeavor in this world where somebody starts out and says, okay, so I'm going to work writing for 7 years for free, with the hopes of making bare minimum wage just to be happy. Nobody's going into that business plan. Nobody's like, hey, so I really want to be a doctor, but I'm gonna have this student debt for the rest of my fucking life. Like there's some that's one drawback from being really business minded is a lot of these things people just like get carried away by their passion and they dive. Like I literally didn't become a paid writer. Like I wrote comics since 2000 to 2006, but it wasn't until I got fired from my day job and my kids weren't gonna fucking eat if I didn't make a living. And I drove all the way out to San Diego with a bag full of gift comic books, gave them to every single person in the convention center with my little like 4-year-old son in tow. And I still didn't get no fucking work. But like 4 months later, Zenoscope contacted me and I somehow got a gig because of that shit. But it was like my back had to be against the wall just to make a dream come true. But if I thought about it financially at any time, there's no way I could have done this shit. That's like the hardest thing for you. If you're a good businessman, following your dreams is bad business advice, people.
I built my eBay business with a battle intention, and I built it on comics, and it's been very meticulous and it's been very pointed. And obviously, I started out with money, and I realized that year one, I'm probably not going to make much money. And I actually started it out because I needed beer money in college, but that's not the point. Hey, Mike DeBaffo came through for me. I sold the Mike DeBaffo book that I bought for $20 because I needed beer money and comic money. And so I bought it for 20. I sold it for 120. This story is well known. I mean, everybody knows this story. Like,
oh yeah, I've never heard this story before, dude. This is fucking awesome. I love this shit. Dude, Mike, you providing beer and weed money, bitch. What the fuck? These motherfuckers.
And a bunch of comics. I needed money for beer and comics in college. So what did I do? I looked at what I had in my collection. I'm like, oh, this book's good. I like it, but it's not serving me any good. And I bought some comics and I bought some beer, and it was good.
Yeah. Also, I don't know who's watching this shit, but if there's any artists out there, sometimes you guys will do a cover for us, and it'll make us a lot of money for a long fucking time. And every time we fucking make just a little bit of fucking money and we can pay a bill because of that cover, we think about you. Every time I could subscribe to an OnlyFans page, I think of Mike DeBalfo because he's the one who makes that shit possible. With his titties, he's doing a cover for me in May, folks. It's got to be the greatest cover of all time. And he keeps bumping me. I'm his best friend, and this bitch keeps bumping me. They bump people in comics when you book a cover, motherfuckers. Did you know that? Did you know that's the shit that we have to go through here?
It's all right. It's all right. I was trying to book an exclusive. All these people didn't want to book with me, and I'm like, I guess you're off my list. And just scratch that name out, scratch that name out. And I'm like, we'll see who wins. We'll see who wins the war. We'll see who wins the war.
Dude, I chased the Campbell cover for 5 years. 5 years. I was the most polite, meek motherfucker on the planet. Hello, sir. I just want you to know I'm a huge fan of your work. I'd really love to work with you. Just kept showing up at fucking shows asking him. I just kept fucking showing up. And finally, one day, he was like, I'm going to have to do a cover for him just to get this guy out my fucking face. And it's the greatest cover of all time. It was like the high point of my career was him and Finch getting those covers. Because you cannot be annoying to people. You can't be demanding. You can't buy. By the way, people don't have prices, people. That's insane. There's some people. So here's a really fucking cool story. I'm not going to tell you who this artist is, but he's one of the A-list artists in this industry. I was ready to back up the money truck to get a cover from this guy. His manager explained to me It's not about the money to some of these A-list artists out there. It's about, if I do a Superman cover for DC and I can turn around and sell that Superman cover for $10,000, that means I can afford to take 2 days off. That's literally how these motherfuckers are thinking. And their minds.
I could throw a name out there and it might get us into some trouble. So I'll give an example of something. I could tell this story. Simon Basley is a good example of this. Simon Basley, for those who don't know, will do a cover for DC. They'll pay him way less, but he gets to keep the art. He then sells the art for $15,000 to $20,000. That's where he's making his real money. So he doesn't care about the $2,000 or the $3,000. That's not where the money's at. Now, for you and me, and for most people in America, $3,000 is good. $3,000 is 75% of most people's paychecks in America. If you have a decent job, which is great in a month, no problem. But when he's selling his art for $20,000, that's a lot of money. That's a lot more money. And what people don't understand is that if he does 30 covers a year and he's selling each of those covers or 28 of them for $20K a piece, he's making a nice living, and maybe he only has to do 30 covers.
For the studio audience out there, Andrew just said $3,000 a month, 70% of the population. I would just like people to know I am not a part of that 70% of the fucking population. My ass is broke as fuck, but I'm somehow.
But that's the similar thing with that A-list artist, right?
I love you so much, and he's like 70% of America, $3,000. I'm like, God damn, I'm not even in the 70%. Shit.
Maybe 70% was a little high. Maybe 50% is a better accurate description. But the point remains the same. The point remains the same. Where
it's literally they understand that it really, in the long scheme of everything, it's not about money. It's about time. You'll eventually get to a point where you value your time so much that you understand that's what the money's really for. What are you willing to sacrifice for your time? So I stopped taking it personal when these artists would say they wouldn't do a cover for me, because they can only do so many covers a year with so much time. They have friends, they have passion projects they want to do. But if you're nice and you just approach these people on a regular basis, over time, eventually, sometimes you get lucky. Either that or secretly everybody who's ever worked with me who's an A-list artist wants to fuck me. It's one or the other. It's either I'm a nice guy or they looked at my lips and they were like, want to stick.
It goes even further. A lot of how I get interviews is I'm very polite, right? I'm very polite, and also I've been around forever. So I had somebody say, I don't normally do interviews, but you've interviewed all my friends. I have to be on your show. And when I told the story, she was like, I'd be offended. I'm like, but I'm not offended. What I figured out is that when you start circling around, there's going to get a point where the person who said no to you or wanted to charge you $400, wanted me to pay them $400, then says, I want to come on your show because every person I know has been on your show, and how come I'm not there? And that happens too. And I think it happens in comics where if all of a sudden you're getting all these top people, somebody, you're like, oh yeah, I just worked with the A, B, C, D, and E, and that my, name is this and it's that, and there you go. And for me, what's nice is that I interview a lot of people. And so when I want an artist, they're like, oh yeah, remember you were on my show 4 times. Like, yeah, I remember. Yo, dude, I'll bump you up immediately. So there's certain people who said, the second you want to cover, I don't care who's on my list, I will bump somebody back by 2 weeks to get you into your spot.
Because you hear that, Mike? You hear that, DeBaffo? He bumped people, you bitch! Why am I being bumped? I'm your buddy! I know he's not listening. I know he's never going to fucking hear this, so I'm just going to talk shit. Also, Pat Chan sucks dick. There we go. No, those motherfuckers are never going to get, they're never going to get 44 minutes into the fucking podcast to hear me talking about they like the gayest porn. And not that there's anything wrong with gay. Gay is wonderful. It's beautiful. But they like watching naked men all the time. And they got to make sure they look like me. Pat and Mike like looking at porn of people that look like me naked. all the fucking time. I did not know if you guys knew this, but if you got to 44 minutes into the interview, now you fucking do.
And this is going to be the short that I'm going to cut up tonight, put on TikTok. Just so everybody can see it. Just so everybody can see it. That 20 seconds. We're going to break 1,000 on TikTok.
Oh, shit.
Oh, boy. I am really not getting a sponsor anytime soon.
So, dude, man, we were talking about something about the monetization of YouTube and whatnot, and how you can't talk about suicide, trans rights, let's see, the vaccine, COVID, or anything within the first 5 minutes, or your shit doesn't get monetized. I'm like, wow, they got a whole bunch of fucking lists about shit we can't talk about, and we're supposed to like have genuine conversations in this fucking world. You know the craziest thing, man? So I hadn't been exposed to a lot of trans in my life. I have a best friend, a really good friend who's trans, and I met him. Oh, I'm sorry. I met her after she had transitioned again, and I was freaked out by it. Many years later, having been exposed more to various LGBTQ, et cetera, type things, I go out to dinner with her. As soon as I walk in the door, the first thing I ask her, and fuck y'all motherfuckers if you're being judgmental about this shit. First thing I ask her is, hey man, I gotta know, you still got your dick? Soon as she answered that fucking question, we were off to the fucking races. She filled me in on everything. We were comfortable with another. There was no weird shit involved. So I'm just letting you know, trans people out there, if you just let people know if you still got the fucking dick, conversations will go much better and smoother. It's us. It's us. We are flawed individuals, and we can't help but think, God damn, this bitch is hot. I wonder if she still got a dick. We just want to fucking know. It's not nothing to do with you. It's us. It's a shortcoming of us. But yeah, so I forget why that conversation came up. Oh, things we're not allowed to talk about. It's so weird in this.
It is. Now, it's all right. It's all right. I'm not monetized at the moment. And anyway, at this point, I really don't care, because monetization for me is 3-4 years down the road. And you know what? I got a feeling it's all going to change anyway. And the real way you're going to make money is you're going to form things off of YouTube and whatnot. And who knows? Maybe Rumble will call me soon enough. I would like that Rumble money. I would like that Steven Crowder money is what I really want.
I want that OnlyFans money. So here's the crazy thing, Andrew. Here's some funny fucking shit, yo. All right. So whenever somebody would make a comment in any fashion about paying for porn on the internet, I would be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? There's free porn. But what if you could pay for porn, but it's someone you know? It's someone you know that you have seen in person on a regular basis, sticking things inside of themselves. Would that be worth $9.99? Yes, Andrew, it fucking is. And now I understand how motherfuckers pay for porn. I'm like, oh shit, I've known this bitch for years. Oh shit, let's see what areolas look like. I get it. On the subject of monetization.
It's all right. It's all right. I gave up. I gave up a long time ago. It's understandable. It's all right, though. It's all right. I'll just invest my money and I'll just collect my dividends and I'll be thrilled.
NFTs too. Don't forget NFT.
I don't want to talk about it. I had a bad experience. I had a really bad experience with NFTs. I don't want to talk about it. My wallet got fucking drained, dude. It was very painful. I felt very violated.
Oh, investment wise?
So the short of the story is that my wallet got hacked and my NFT got stolen and some Ethereum got stolen. And it's the weirdest thing because it like paranoids the shit out of you. Like it's almost like you wake up and your entire bank account is empty. And you're like, this is my money. I feel personally violated. And that's what it was like. So very painful experience, but oddly enough, the crypto community was very supportive. It's like the weirdest thing. Whenever this happens, everybody's like, "Yo, dude, you need a ledger, you need this. This happened to me too." And everybody, like, when it happened, and like all these crypto groups was like, "Dude, I feel for you. This sucks." So I'm not really an NFT guy, but I'm a crypto guy.
This is the only time in my life I have been so happy that I've been so broke that I cannot relate and feel your pain of waking up to fucking the support of the cryptocurrency community was there for you. And I'm like,
No.
you said crypto, my brain didn't want to process what you were saying. Just like it's like there are words NFT, the cloud, and fucking cryptocurrency. Your brain goes, hey.
I'm a unique breed. So let me actually ask you a legit question because you have comic book experience. I don't think cryptocurrencies mend well with comic books. I don't think NFTs mend well with comic books. And I don't think it's a technology problem. I think it's that the audience doesn't understand that. I really think that people in comics don't understand. And I was advising somebody and they were paying me some money and they wanted to launch an NFT with their comic book. And I said, does your audience understand this? And they're like, I don't know. And I said, do you understand it? And they're like, because I was like talking about ledgers and other things relating to it. And they didn't understand it. I'm like, so you can't launch it. So I'm curious your thoughts on that because, and I'm probably going to ask a bunch of people actually this because it's such an interesting position where I feel some people in comics want it, but it's a minority versus the majority.
Man, we were trying to this is like since I've been in the game, we've been trying to explain to motherfuckers to order from their local comic book shop to put a book on reserve for years. The concept of, hey, can you add this subscription to my pull list? 90% of the people who buy comics do not fucking do that shit. You know how I know that shit? Because I don't do that shit either. I just go in there randomly and grab books off the shelf all willy-nilly and not giving a fuck. And like every once in a while, there's one or two on my pull list. Just like, fuck, you see something you like, you grab it off the shelf. So like trying to explain to a niche community about, and I could be wrong. I mean, motherfuckers get their shit graded and sell their books for thousands of dollars, and I still haven't wrapped my head around that shit. Like 9.9 selling for fucking grands, and it's like fucking anyway. But yeah, trying to teach a niche community about an even further niche sounds like the biggest waste of time that I would be happy to do as long as they are willing to pay excessive amounts of money for that time. Like, you ever do that shit, Andrew, where it's like, you know what? I don't want to do this. I usually charge $20 to do this, but I'll charge you $100 because I really don't want to do this. And they do it.
If I don't want to interview somebody and they really need an interview, what I'll say is it's $30.
Yeah.
And if they're willing to pay, I'm like, cool. Or if I know that they paid a bunch of other people, I'm going to demand the same amount of money because I'm not going to be treated any differently than anybody else. You know, if I know that you've paid a marketer $300 in a month and then you come and ask me on my show, you should expect to say, hey, I know you paid a marketer who is trying to book you on shows. I expect that to get a cut of that. And if they don't want to do that, that's fine, but they have to understand why that's occurring because I'm not the last run at the litter. It's different when I solicit versus being solicited, if that makes any sense.
Oh, no, I know what you mean.
But if somebody wanted me to explain cryptocurrencies or investment stuff or stock investing, and I really didn't want to do it or I didn't like them, I might charge them more money because it's my time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean look,
it's literally once you get it takes so fucking long to. I mean, think about all the time you've wasted in your life. It takes so fucking long to like internalize how valuable time is.
It's even more complicated. So I am a very good investor, and I've been that way for the last 10 years. I've had good mentors in that sector, and I do very well. I mean, I'm on a financial podcast tomorrow talking about how to take distributions out of your business and how to invest it properly so that, you set yourself up for success. For private consulting, I charge a good amount of money per hour
Right.
because I build perpetuity machines in businesses where I build businesses that then self-fund themselves. My eBay business is a self-funding machine that allows me to take a distribution. I just did it again, literally 3 weeks ago in bonds. I'm doing it with cryptocurrencies. I do it with my stocks. So for me to teach somebody that, I'm going to charge you a good amount of money. It's not whether I like you or I don't. It's that I have a very interesting expertise. And if you want me to teach you about accessibility and digital accessibility, I'm also going to charge you a good amount of money because I have an expertise in that area. It has nothing to do with liking or not liking. It's just that my time is worth more money. And also, I'm going to make you a better person because of it.
What I was saying is if not like a person, I don't work with anybody I don't like at all. I like everybody. Everybody. I don't work with anybody I don't like. But if I don't like an idea or a story, or it's written in a style that I don't particularly take to, I'll charge an excessive amount more because I know it's gonna eat up more of who you are as a person. Like if I write something for Hollywood and somebody says something like, we want something like The Grudge, I don't look at that as a personal challenge of creative growth. I look at that as I understand the Hollywood mentality of we want this cookie cutter. This is what is currently hot. Give us this flavor. And that doesn't feed me. So I'll ask a lot for that shit.
I get that. I'm already charging a lot of money anyhow. It has nothing to do with emotion. What it has to do with is that my time is valued at X because every hour that I'm spending teaching you is an hour away from research, or it's an hour away from me enjoying my Saturday. And I take 2 days off a week. I take less than that. I take Thursday nights off. And from working on my company where I don't do anything. I get home at 7:00 on a Thursday and I don't do anything. I pour myself a drink and I watch wrestling, or I watch anime, or play video games, and I don't think about my job in any fashion.
Dude, what you think of the Royal Rumble?
I thought the women's Royal Rumble was better than the men's.
You know here's the crazy thing. Cody Rhodes came out, I fucking cried. Emotionally, it fucking got me. Everything else about that shit was just like,
Yeah, I enjoyed Booker T. I thought that was nice because it was in Texas, so they had to do it. But there was nothing surprising. I thought Otis
Brock Lesnar thing?
Yeah, that was cool too.
That was fucking. You didn't see that coming. You didn't see that shit coming. That was surprising as fuck.
That was cool. That was cool.
He was in and out. Like nobody saw that shit coming. It was like I never that dude. I will give Brock this. You know he's involved with his booking. You know he has say-so in it. The fact that motherfucker was like, yeah, let Goldberg spear me and pin me in 3 seconds and surprise the audience like a Mike Tyson fight. Remember the Mike Tyson fights where it was like you could have paid $300 for a ticket and it's over in 5 seconds? You know? That's genius fucking booking. I could never have seen him being like, all right, he's going to just take me right out. I'm like, oh, man. Like, kudos. I forgot about that.
No. I thought.
And Kofi fucked up. Finally. He's never fucked up before. He's never fucked up. I mean, goddamn. No retakes. No action 2. He's nailed it every single time. For the first time, he didn't hit it. That was actually cool, Royal Rumble. But like the story-wise, did nothing for me.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I thought the Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens match was iffy. I think that the best thing was the Sami Zayn betrayal.
Oh, that was so fucking good. It was I'm that guy on the internet acting way too excited about a fictional sport with men in no clothes, just going like, it was so fucking good. Oh my God, I loved it so much. God damn it, dude. When he wouldn't hit him, you were like this. You were like, oh, it's happening.
I loved it, and I loved the SmackDown after, and then the SmackDown after that too is great.
Oh, I didn't see it. How was it? I haven't caught up on any of it.
Sammy said, Roman, I don't want anything from you. I don't want anything from you, but now I want something from you. And he said, I want that title from you. And now Sammy is gonna challenge Roman at Elimination Chamber.
Get the fuck out of here. Oh my God. Oh, he's not going to win, people. He's not going to, but kudos on the right for that shit.
This is what I think should have happened, right? What I think should have happened is that while I think it was Cody's time, I think Sammy versus Roman at WrestleMania would have blown the whole thing out. I think it would be a bigger ticket. I think it would be a bigger sell than Cody versus Roman. Because I don't see a story between Cody and Roman. I don't see it.
They'll build it.
I don't think they can, though. I mean, the whole thing is that if you had this where Sammy betrays Roman and then the Royal Rumble goes on last, and guess who's number 30? Sami Zayn. That whole thing would have popped off even further. And then if he got into WrestleMania, and I think everybody on the internet is now saying this is actually a viable WrestleMania match. Before that betrayal, it was not. Cody versus Roman, it's going to be good. It's going to be entertaining, but I don't think they can build it. I don't think they're going to have enough steam because what's been going on between Sammy and Roman is 6 months in the making.
Yeah.
This is comic book writing 101. That's what this is they book this thing so perfectly that it's an explosion waiting to happen. And WrestleMania was the destination for this. It is the biggest missed opportunity for WWE ever in the last 10 years, which is crazy. Sami Zayn should not be a missed WWE opportunity. He should not be on.
The Rock and Roman was the missed opportunity.
The Rock didn't want to do it.
Yeah, when I saw that thing talking about how he thought he couldn't get in shape in time, understanding like the disciplines of trying to get in shape and train for a fight. I mean, the amount of money that motherfucker makes. I mean, dude, he's on the Grammys and shit. I can't see him saying, okay, that's again, it's that time thing. It's that time incentive of understanding the value of your time.
I think The Rock versus Roman would have blown it out of the water. I don't even think it's about
in Hollywood. It's in Hollywood. It was kind of like made in the fucking stars, but fuck it.
I mean, I think that I don't know. Do you bring Hulk Hogan in some segment at this WrestleMania because it's Hollywood Hogan? I mean, that's a tricky one.
Definitely, without a doubt. And he's okay with the blacks again. I don't fucking know. I guess he is. I guess he's okay. Kanye will be okay in a couple months with the Jews. It's okay. We figure this shit out as we go along. If you wait long enough, eventually people will be okay with Bill Cosby. They'll be like, oh, he's been dead for 50 years. The only people nobody's okay with is Hitler. He's the only one nobody's like, you know what? He had a rough childhood. Give him a break. No, he's the only one. Everyone will forgive you eventually, or they'll forget.
I think it's going to take a while for Will Smith too.
Oh, we're already over Will Smith. Will, it's cool. Come on back, man. Come on back. You know why it's cool with Will? Because Will gave us Chris Rock comedy out of that shit. Dave Chappelle comedy out of that shit. Will, you smack all the motherfuckers you want. Just keep making shit for us to talk shit about you.
I really think. I mean, what was that? Was that at the Oscars or?
Yeah, it was at the Oscars.
See, I think what they need to do is they need to bring the slap back. I think there should be a slap award moving forward. Hear me out. Hear me out. They're not going to tell you when it's going to come. It could be at the start of the show, at the middle of the show, at the end of the show. But the ratings are so shitty that we need to bring this back. After the slap, the ratings went up. Think about this, right?
Bro, dude, it was the most. It was literally, Chris Rock wasn't lying. It was the most watched moment in the history of fucking shit. Everybody. Dude, I am a black man in America. I still haven't watched that George Floyd video, but I have watched that Chris Rock getting slapped shit a lot. That's black on black crime. And I watch that shit out of it, people. Can't fucking.
I'm just saying that for a creative endeavor, I would not be surprised in 30 years that if this entire thing was set up from the people up at the top of the Oscars all the way downward, because they knew the ratings were shitty and they needed to turn it around. Otherwise, the Oscars were going to get canceled. It's kind of like Planet Earth, the show.
Oh, you go to enough comedy clubs, you know that shit's not fake. I have seen in 1 year. I've only been doing comedy for 1 year. On average, maybe I do 10 to 12 shows a month. Within a year, you have no idea how many times I've seen some shit where I'm like, oh my God, this guy's about to fucking get knocked the fuck out. Holy shit. You can cross the line in comedy, or people can take things the wrong way. This shit's all real. Like sometimes people will just say something that hits a button in you that you didn't know existed until they said it. You know, and nobody knows what that button is. It's like there's this thing where, you know, that saying, Andrew, where they talk about seeing red.
Yeah.
Like there's places where something happens, you get angry enough, you fucking disappear. Same thing for, you see like these things on social media, people posting opinions that are very polarizing and like to the left, right, whatever you want to call the fucking conservative bullshit. And you just see people lose their shit because somehow that is their button. In public, when it's like face to face with somebody, that button is so much more prominent. It's like you don't become aware of how insane like shit can fucking go. Look at the fucking pandemic, dude.
I mean, look at the incident with Dave Chappelle. I don't know if you know the incident I'm talking about. Where
yes,
he was on stage and some guy brought up a knife, or like a half broken knife. And I don't know the full extent, but clearly he was trying to kill Dave Chappelle.
Yeah. I mean, that's real, man. That's and the thing is again, this world is just full of crazy shit. Whenever I hear about somebody doing anything, I'm not surprised. Nothing in this world surprises me now, just because I don't understand my brain enough to have any sense of what my brain is capable of, let alone anyone else's.
I don't know when we did our first interview. Was I in DC when we did our first interview? Yeah, I must have been, right?
Utah.
No. I was in DC.
No. Oklahoma.
Forget it.
I smoked so much weed, and you're like, you remember when I was in Washington, D.C.?
No. I'm trying to get to a point. So the first time you and me did an interview, I was living in D.C.
Yeah.
My neighbor next to me was mentally compromised, is the nicest way to put it.
Yeah.
So I didn't think she was going to stab me or kill me, but she didn't like her neighbors on the other side. And so like she calls the police and she greets them downstairs. There's a male officer and a female officer. I'm picking up my mail, and I just looked at the female officer. I'm like, just no. Like, I don't want anything to do with this. But like, I could tell like she was paranoid and like it was messed up, and then like all the stuff. And like, all I know is that like if she was knocking on my door, I locked my door, and if I heard her knocking and I saw her through the people, I would pretend like I wasn't home, because I don't know what a mentally compromised person is going to be. And not to disparage the mentalness, but it's very, very disturbing when you live next to somebody who is in that state. Because for all I know, she could have a knife and she could be having a bad day. And next thing I know, the knife is coming at me. And it's not even that she's triggered by anything or touched upon or seeing red. It's people are crazy, for lack of a better word.
And I will for Andrew, not reflecting of the conversations in pop culture's view. I will disparage the shit out you crazy motherfuckers, because I've been one of you. You motherfuckers are crazy. Fuck y'all motherfuckers. Don't want you stinking up, peeing on my house and taking a shit outside my door. Fuck y'all. Dude, ain't none of those motherfuckers watching this shit. The only people watching this shit are the people that they don't like, oh my God, he talked about the homeless. Fuck the old man, crazy, mentally ill motherfuckers who are trying to pee on your door. That's who we're talking about. Who have voices in their head. You can't feel sorry for all these motherfuckers. You only have so much sorry to pass around. There's little people. They used to be called midgets, but now they're not allowed to go by their birth name. Feel sorry for them. People born with one arms. I know a lot of them. They're funny as fuck. Not because they have one arm. They're funny as fuck.
Well, my sponsorships just went tremendously. Don't worry, everybody. It's only going to get worse from here on out. This is what more to come is how I put it. It's absolutely terrible. Just absolutely terrible. This is but Raven, ask me a question. Do I give a fuck?
Dude, I hate this. I just realized. Okay, Andrew, the other day I watched The Joker for the second time. And after doing comedy for a year, I have finally heard my laugh. And people in the comedy community give me shit about my laugh all the fucking time. And now that my hair is dyed green and I hear that laugh coming out of my mouth, this is the worst podcast ever, because I look like the Black Joker. I look like the Joker cosplaying for Black History Month.
Well, I think that might be the best place to end right there, because I don't have an answer for that, but I do want to give you a chance to promote yourself. So where can people hit you up, bother you, disturb you, check you out on social media, all that fun stuff?
You can find me on Facebook, because I guess I'm old and I'm not hip. You can find me on Instagram, where I rarely post, but when I do, it's almost guaranteed you'll see my nipple. It'll be a flappy, moist, wet nipple, but you're probably going to see it because I like exercising, because I'm trying to be healthy, bitch. You can also find me at any local comedy clubs in the area where I perform on a regular basis in Arizona, if you're in the Arizona area. And if you're a Wonderland fan and you haven't picked up the latest issue of the Wonderland Annual from Zenescope, we just did a story that was a culmination of 20 years worth of stories in a cool what if-esque type book that I hope you guys will all enjoy.
And then I'm just going to quickly promote myself. Obviously, you need to support comic creators, indie creators, anything you like seeing, you need to support it, and you need to financially support it. So going out to a comedy club, buying books, obviously buying people stuff from their web stores, anything like that, Patreons. When you run a Kickstarter, obviously you need to support Raven's work when he runs one of those things, or if he just goes direct to market, however he does it. So that's a big deal. And then as far as I'm concerned, obviously me on social media, it's Pop Anime Comics on Twitter, Pop Anime Comics on Instagram, Pop Anime Comics on Facebook. If you can find my TikTok, be my guest. Got a lot of cool stuff coming out there. And I am doing a lot of cool shorts on YouTube. So that is Pop Anime Comics. And a lot of this stuff is on YouTube, so you can check it out there. And I do have a t-shirt on Redbubble, and I do have a comic book investing class coming. So if you want to learn how to invest in comic books, and can't tell you how much money you're going to make, but you will get educated. That's the only guarantee I can say. You'll get some form of education. But my goal is to keep it $40 for about 20 hours worth of my time. So it's a long class, and it gives you the basics. So I think it's a fair trade. It's not ultra expensive, but if you'd like to do that, it's probably going to be on Udemy, and I am re-recording that as soon as I get some time, because the first round did not go well. But yeah, So I appreciate everybody checking out social media. Subscribe on YouTube. I am 6 away from 500, guys. I would like to get 500 subscribers by the end of February. It's a goal. I am 6 away. And so that's everything I have. And I am going to give you the final word.
Pussy, I don't get enough of it. I want that to be apparently clear to the studio audience and the viewing public. I do not get pussy very often. I'd very much like to change that for 2023. I'm Raven Gregory. It's been a blast.
That's a wrap, everybody.